Hello everyone, today I will be presenting our paper, Are We Ready for Robust and Resilient SLAM? And I will introduce our framework for quantitative characterization of SLAM datasets. These agendas we'll be discussing today, starting with the motivation. If we have a deeper look into SLAM literature, we'll find out that the efforts are directed towards introducing new algorithms, datasets, and performance metrics to evaluate algorithms. However, the link between the final performance of an algorithm with respect to the characteristics of the input data was never established. And in our work, we are trying to tackle this problem by characterizing datasets and providing a framework for analyzing the relation between the two. Robustness and resilience in SLAM is not very well defined, usually confused with accuracy. In order to find the definition for both terms, what about doing this by analogy? So robustness in biological systems, system engineering, electromechanical system is the ability of the system to maintain a specific performance within a specific operating condition. On the other hand, resilience in psychology and ecology, mechanical engineering and system engineering is the ability of the system to converge after divergence while operating outside of its nominal conditions. So the key word here is measuring the conditions, operating condition of SLAM algorithms, whether we are operating inside or beyond. Previous work in analyzing and characterizing SLAM datasets was divided into qualitative analysis in the context of introducing new datasets or new SLAM algorithms. And very recently, one paper was focusing on this topic slowly. On the other hand, quantitative characterization of SLAM datasets was present in using Weatherstein distance to measure the sequence difficulty, using optical flow magnitude to measure the motion aggressiveness, and also using BCA to measure the composite motion of vehicles inside datasets. Introducing our framework, it's a generic and extended framework for quantitative characterization of SLAM datasets. As we can see here from this abstract block diagram, our system is very modular to support characterizing any dataset, adding new sensors, and adding any characterization metrics that we need to measure on datasets. Looking into the detailed block diagram, one can see the independent representation of dataset in terms of measurements and in terms of its characterization results, the huge number of helper functions to analyze the information, characterize and getting insights into datasets, and also the separation of the processing elements that we use for characterization, all the way from inertial characterization, visual characterization, and also general characterization of the datasets. Our framework can provide results on 3 different levels: sample level, sequence level, and dataset level. And the outcomes are analyzed, the statistical properties, the entropy, the diversity index, and also the correlation between the SLAM algorithms, ATE, and our characterization metrics. One of the metrics that we measure is a spatial distribution of fast feature in the scene, and this is one of the 73 metrics that we measure on data sets. As we can see here, the 3 characterized data sets, which is KT, EuroC, and TUM, we can see the level of intersection between these data sets. We are able to generate a distribution of these measurements, and we are also able to see the level of diversity in these datasets. TUM can be seen to be the most challenging because the spatial distribution is not that high compared to KT and EuroC. In terms of diversity and interestingness, we are measuring the entropy and the Simpson diversity index on the characterization results. And as we can see, for example, from the inertial point of view, TUM has a very diverse data compared to EuroC. On the other hand, from the visual point of view, the images that we have in KT has a higher diversity index than EuroC and TUM-VI. Also, using this framework, we were able to detect some of the anomalies in the dataset. Like, for example, we were able to detect some of the underexposed images in TUM and EuroC. This cannot be detected in KT. This means that TUM and EuroC are more challenging than KT, and TUM is the most challenging one. Also, we were able to detect rotation-only motion that is very challenging to detect in SLAM, and TUM has a very high rate of rotation-only motion. From the effective coverage range, we are comparing using the 3 datasets together to achieve a certain coverage of a certain metric. Like, for example, what is the range of brightness that we are covering? What is the range of changes of brightness that we are covering? And we can see here the percentage of contribution of each dataset to this baseline, which is having the 3 of them together. And we can see that most of the time, TUM has higher contribution to the overall, but in terms of like the inertial measurements, inertial metrics, the coverage coming from TUM is much higher than the TUM dataset. We are also able to detect data redundancy, and we will find out that if we are measuring the effective coverage of a certain metric, like as I mentioned, brightness or blurring, something like this, after a while, after testing with a very few number of sequences, we were able to reach a plateau level where no more coverage can be achieved. As a matter of fact, we were able to reach the same amount of coverage over a specific characterization metric using only 2 sequences from TUM-VI compared to using 61 sequences of the 3 datasets combined. We were also able to do some correlation analysis between the SLAM ATE and the characteristics of datasets. And what we did here is measuring the Pearson correlation coefficient, which is trying to detect linear correlation. And we were able to detect some moderate to high correlation between some of the metrics, some of the properties of data, and the final ATE. We think that analyzing for non-linear and non-monotonic correlation can provide even more interesting results that can open doors to a wide range of research. In conclusion, datasets are different. We know that, but how different? We now have an answer for this question using our framework. There is a huge intersection between datasets, and there is a huge level of redundancy, and we are able to detect that and finally measure this kind of redundancy to direct our efforts in the future in introducing new datasets or even design our experiments for evaluating SLAM. A number of anomalies were detected, like very dark and very bright images, rotation-only motion, and timestamp mismatch between sensors. And finally, the relation between the performance of SLAM algorithms, the ATE, and the characteristics of the input data is finally possible using our characterization results and our characterization framework. For our future work, we are planning to open our code to the public, and we are finalizing our website that have a lot more details about the framework and its design, enabling researchers to extend the operation of the framework to other metrics, other data sets, and other sensors. We are also exploring the fronts that we are highlighting in this study, including the relation between the SLAM ATE and the final characteristics of datasets, the dynamic range coverage of datasets, and also the anomalies and its impact on the performance in SLAM. Thank you, and I will be happy to take any questions.